What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the deliciously dank Dr. Disaster, and if you have followed this channel for a while now, you will know that I am a self-described schadenfreude enthusiast whose favorite three-word phrase is the following.
Kiss my ass.
Oops, close, but not quite. Actually, my favorite is this.
I told you! Yep. I told you!
And to my immense amusement and satisfaction, I have been able to say those words, I told you, quite a lot in the past few years when it comes to the video game industry. Companies like Microsoft here have abandoned the audience who traditionally consume their product in favor of the modern audience, as they follow stupid guidelines like this one here, where every female character has to look at least somewhat like a dude. We have told them for a long while that there would be consequences for turning on the people who actually bought their products.
I've been saying it. I've been saying it for 10 damn years. Ain't I been saying it, Miguel? Huh? I've been saying it.
Well, it looks like once again we have been proven correct, because news is coming down the pike which suggests that Microsoft is about to undergo another massive round of layoffs, specifically in their gaming division, and we tried to tell them that this was coming, that you can't feasibly pair ridiculous levels of spending with commitment to woke shit and expect to do well, but Xbox refused to listen.
This is bullshit!
Microsoft has spent entirely too much money on acquiring the likes of Bethesda and Activision Blizzard. As you can see from this old tweet from Grums here, it says, Microsoft's acquisition spree since 2019, they spent $68 billion on Activision Blizzard and $7.5 billion for Bethesda. These are just 2 out of 40 studio acquisitions, and all to bet on Gamepass. Gamepass earns $3.7 billion a year, and growth is flat, not moving. They are in trouble. They have to earn back the money on these acquisitions, and as you can see, this post was originally put out over a year ago. We have been trying to tell these clowns at Microsoft that the way forward is to stop trying to chase a new audience, embrace gamers, the lewd, crude, male crowd that doesn't give a shit about stuff like this right here. But Xbox refuses, and Game Pass is not growing like it needs to, so that is why we see headlines like this, talking about loads of employees about to lose their jobs.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
At least once more, as always.
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I've begun uploading content over onto Rumble as well, so make sure that you follow Dr. Disaster on that site too. But in any case, let's take a look at the job losses that are set to hit for the developers working at Microsoft. This article here is from the website Game Developer. It says, Microsoft is preparing to make even more Xbox workers redundant as part of a company-wide reorganization that will reportedly take place next week. Bloomberg reports that managers within Xbox are expecting substantial cuts to be made across the division. Microsoft declined to comment when approached by the publication. It's currently unclear how many people stand to be impacted by the purported cuts, or which studios and departments will be impacted. If the latest rumblings prove true, it would mark the 4th major round of layoffs within Xbox in the space of 18 months. Now, I've heard some talk that this cut is expected to see a few thousand employees that are getting the axe For reference, Xbox supposedly has around 20,000 employees across their studios, meaning that it's sounding as though this is going to be a very significant cut. But let's read a bit more of this article. It tells us here the US tech company kicked off 2024 by laying off 1,900 people across its video game business following its colossal $68.7 billion merger with Activision Blizzard. It followed those cuts by shuttering key studios such as Arcane Austin, Alpha Dog Games, and Tango Gameworks, the latter of which was eventually pulled back from the brink after being purchased by Krafton. In May of 24, Xbox President Sarah Bond said those redundancies would ensure Xbox remained healthy for the long term. It would be reasonable to suggest she spoke too soon. And that is exactly the case. They keep expecting Game Pass to pick up in subscription count, but it just isn't happening. They've roped in the most loyal Xbox customers, but they aren't bringing in any new ones. And I bet their marketing vis-a-vis the games that they make as a company simply isn't appealing to your average gamer. Look at a game like Avowed as a premier example of the sort of slop that Microsoft Studios put out. The game was about as meh as it gets. It was billed by Obsidian sycophants as the Elder Scrolls killer, but it was a big nothing burger. The developers got caught up in culture war drama, and the game flopped and didn't do anything to bring in new subscribers for Game Pass. And the problem is that this system that Xbox has set up with Game Pass is basically a communistic situation. If a studio puts together a great game, well, Game Pass players can play it for free, and I'm told that some contracts do allow a bonus for the number of players who play their games, but the bulk of a studio's Game Pass earnings reportedly come from allowing their game to be included on Game Pass. So yeah, a studio makes a great game, and they make X amount of dollars. Or a studio makes a dog shit game and they make pretty close to X amount of dollars. So what is the incentive to putting in the extra effort and making something great? This is precisely the same problem that communism runs into. If people aren't incentivized to do a good job, then they often won't. Years ago, I worked in sales, and when I first started at the company, individuals got paid commission based on their own individual work, and the people I worked with performed like rock stars. They were very good salespeople. Sales were great across the company, but then the bigwigs at the top got it in their heads that actually it'd be a really great idea if everyone shared commission as a team. That way, if you had a bad month, you'd still get paid the same as everyone else. The problem was that people realized if they sloughed off and didn't work hard, they would get paid either way, and sales numbers as a company plummeted. And naturally, the top dogs who pushed this idea scratched their heads and had no idea what was causing this issue, no matter how loudly we told them the new commission structure was at fault. The point is that Game Pass does this same sort of thing. It incentivizes developers to do shoddy work, but unfortunately for Microsoft, they're committed to it at this point. They have to make up for the massive expenditures over the past several years. They've hit a brick wall on subscriptions, hovering at a little over 30 million, and that just isn't enough. I'm also sure this is why it looks like they aren't making disc versions of their games moving forward. PlayStation versions of their games are getting discs, but not Xbox. They are in the precarious situation where they really need to push people into their Game Pass service. This is why it is so asinine that they've continually pushed this sort of thing here, where they adhere to woke principles at their studios, which is essentially just really poor marketing for their games, setting guidelines which would not allow a character like Eve from Stellar Blade, for example, to be made by their studios is just inefficient marketing, considering that once again, as I've said many times, the bulk of gamers out there are males, straight males. So, it is no surprise that they are continuing to struggle keeping their Game Pass number subscriptions going up, and it's no surprise then that they are letting more people go from the company. But I'm going to leave it there. Drop your contempt for the Microsoft corporate machine into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.